When I say the word efficient or efficiency, do you immediately think of other words like fast and speed, right? If so, I mean, you wouldn't be alone. I think that that's certainly part of it. But sometimes when we are on the quest for efficiency, we start to lose the plot. And today's episode is all about how we can make sure that we are focusing on what is actually efficient and not getting lost along the way in the quest for speed.
Welcome to the Do More, Stress Less podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Hasselberger, a time management and productivity coach. In every episode, I give you actionable, practical tips to help you learn to use your time in a way that feels good to you every day. No more hustling, scrambling, or struggling to keep your head above water. So let's dive in, and soon enough, you'll be doing more and stressing less.
Look, I'm all about efficiency. I love it. But sometimes, in the pursuit of efficiency, you lose sight of the larger picture. You confuse efficiency with speed, you lose sight of what matters, and you end up spending more time in the long term. And not to put too fine a point on it, but there are a couple of very high profile examples of exactly this that have been in the news over the last few months, where in pursuit of efficiency, not only was great harm caused, but the repercussions of moving too fast are decidedly making things less efficient overall. So, example number one. So, we all know that the Trump administration, the current administration, pardoned all the January 6th insurrectionists, even those who had violent criminal records. Now, of course, personally, I don't think that they should have been pardoned at all, but that's not the point of this episode. Why did they pardon everyone, including those with violent histories? That's the question. Well, they thought that it would simply be too arduous, too time consuming to check the records. That was all in the name of efficiency. Now, there's another example from the current administration. They decided that they were going to fire countless government employees, and the decision criteria that they used was to fire all of those employees who were in a temporary status. This was something that they were doing for efficiency. An efficiency measure, they said, okay, everyone who's in a temporary status, we're going to let those people go. Unfortunately, they got this very wrong because those many of those people that were in a temporary status were in a temporary status because they had just been promoted because they were so good at their jobs, right? And as a result, now the government lacks many of its best and most experienced employees, the employees who would make things run smoothly. And as we've seen, things are not running smoothly in many of our government agencies right now, right? Although, maybe that was exactly the point. So who knows? But these are just two examples that I'm sure you've heard of where it's like we're shooting for efficiency, but we're causing some damage. We're losing the plot. And this type of thing, hopefully in our own lives, it's not going to be so big, right? But we see this stuff all the time where efficiency goes wrong and it kind of rears its ugly head. And now we are in a situation where, in the name of efficiency, in fact, we have instead caused issues for ourselves. So, have you ever been trying to find an efficient solution to a rather small task or problem, only to find that the time that it took you to research an efficient solution took more time than it would have taken to simply complete the task manually? I mean, yeah, I have been there too. Here are a few more examples of this phenomenon that might resonate more with your experience. So, what about firing off an email really quickly? And then that email causes three more emails to clarify what has happened, right? A rushed answer often invites more follow-up, whereas a thoughtful answer, one where we, answered all the questions, etc., can kind of stop the thread in its tracks. So sometimes it takes a little bit of upfront time to be more efficient overall. Or what about when you are excited at speed reading instructions and then you end up wasting time doing the thing wrong? You think, I got this. No, I don't. This one's bitten me way more times than I'd like to admit. Or, what about plowing through a project without first planning, right? Starting really fast, it feels productive, right? Until you realize you're 6 hours in, you're off course, you didn't think about X, Y, or Z. And this is actually why I think that planning is often the most important work. Yeah, it takes time for sure, but it saves you so much more time in the long run. Even think about, last week's episode we were talking about planning your week, right? If you spend 30 minutes planning this, planning for next week this week, your week next week is going to be so much more efficient. You're going to get so much more done and you're going to feel so much better, right? Or what about, knocking off a task really quickly and then not taking a moment to document it or track it, right? Later, you find yourself saying, wait, did I send that thing? Let me go in my email. Let's see if I sent it, or maybe it's just a draft. We spend a lot of valuable time retracing our steps when we don't take a moment to just record, document in the moment. What about multitasking, right? Multitasking. It feels fast, but it's slowing you down, right? I hate to break it to you. The recovery time between context switches makes multitasking slower overall because you're not actually doing two things at the same time. You are context switching really, really quickly. Plus, you're likely to make more mistakes and you'll have to fix those later. Studies actually show that attempting to multitask tanks our productivity by about 40%. So multitasking is one of those things where like we're being efficient. In fact, you're not. You're being not efficient at all, and neither am I. And that's why I don't even try to pretend that I can multitask anymore. Or what about, doing something yourself because it's faster than delegating it to someone else, right? Now, I hear this all the time from my clients. Heck, I've said this before, right? And it may well be true if whatever it is that you're doing is like a one-time thing. But if the task or the project is going to come up again and again, it would be more efficient in the long run to train somebody else to do it versus doing it for by yourself for eternity. So here's the thing, right? Fast is not the same as efficient. Okay? It's important to know the difference. So the next time you're aiming for efficiency, you might want to ask yourself what you might be missing and where you might actually need to slow down so that you can get that efficiency that you really want. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Do More, Stress Less podcast. If you found the episode helpful and you're ready to finally feel calm, focused, and fully in control of your time, you might want to check out Time Well Spent Coaching, the step-by-step program that I designed to help you build practical, sustainable strategies into your life so that you can reclaim your time once and for all. You can learn more or join us anytime at alexishasselberger.com or the link in the show notes. See you next time on the podcast.